Hey y'all. I thought I'd go live again to just recap what I said in my last live video. That was so freewheeling and fun, but maybe visually a little bit tough to look at. Somebody just sent me a clip from whatever show Stephen Colbert does now. I don't know. Is it the Late Late Show with Stephen Colbert, or is that Jimmy Kimmel? I don't know because I don't watch it, but somebody sent me a clip where Jon Stewart was the guest, and oh my God, he starts off. He's like, "Well, I think we really owe we really owe a debt of gratitude to science for helping us to cope with what has probably been caused by science." Everybody laughed, right? And then Stephen Colbert started to push back, like, "Well, wait a minute, you can't really," and he's like, "The lab is called the Wuhan Institute of Virology." He's like, "Look at the name of the lab." He's like, "It's the name of the virus." And then people are like tittering nervously, right? And Colbert starts trying to push back. You know, he's like, no, but they're coming out of they're like, "I work at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, but I know that this virus came from a pangolin mating with a, unicorn," and everybody laughs or whatever. It's like, and then he's like, "Oh, I work in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I work at a chocolate factory, and this candy bar came about with the mating of a shovel and some peanuts and..." No! It came from the Hershey factory. I don't know. It was awesome. I'm sure he did a better job of it, but since I'm driving, I thought I would just do a reenactment. So, yesterday, as I had mentioned in several places, the New York Times made an attempt to kind of put the issue to bed or put the issue to rest as far as the origins of the novel coronavirus, SARS-2. And what they did is they went to the guy who wrote an email to Anthony Fauci, and those emails were just released. In it seemed like, to somebody who didn't know who he was, it seemed like the guy was trying to say, "Oh, I think this virus might be engineered, Dr. Fauci," but really, this guy was already in on the damage control from the very beginning. His name is Christian Anderson, and he works at the Scripps Research Institute in La Jolla, California, near San Diego. And so while quite a bit was made of this email in the media before the real scientists got control of the narrative, the scientific messaging. So they, but what I find funny is the actual email doesn't really reveal a lot. It basically just says, "We're looking into it. There's like 0.1% that doesn't look natural in this novel coronavirus, Dr. Fauci." And then, so basically, New York Times tracked down, not like it was hard, Mr. Christian Anderson, and they wanted to talk to him. They wanted to figure out what he thought now. So they're like, "You wrote a paper in March 17, 2020, saying that most likely SARS-CoV-2 came from nature. It evolved naturally, through an intermediary animal, which is as yet unnamed still. But, why did you change your mind after the email? Because people are really talking about this email." So I didn't change my mind. I just did more research into it. Nothing to see here, folks. Totally normal, totally natural. So I decided I was going to look more into it. I was going to look into the actual paper he wrote and what he was really saying. Well, the issue's not put to bed at all. It's not put to rest. It's the same type of... Oh, the lighting looks horrible. I need better lighting. It's the same type of language in the New York Times article that was in that paper a year ago. I mean, sometimes it's so frustrating watching these people fall over themselves trying to make people think they're not corrupt, you know? So, anyway, as I went through, I saw the messaging is the same. We just really don't know. I mean, it could be from the lab, but we can't prove that it wasn't, but we also can't prove that it was. Why? Well, why indeed? Because there's this iron curtain between us and the lab. And it has been this way since 2005. I think I mentioned that the head of the World Health Organization was, his name was Lee Wook Soon or something, and he allowed the WHO to expose the fact that SARS-1 had escaped from a lab in Beijing. It was a very small mention in a scientific paper in 2004, and we have never gotten that kind of transparency since. So I started to think maybe SARS-1 was also not natural. And if you go back and look at the definitive articles and papers on it, it's not. It's a similar type of uncertainty coupled with a total opacity over, any outcome, and here we are. But we've read enough in the studies that have been retracted. What I noticed that Fauci does is when people send him things that are the truth, he'll ask for a preprint and then basically make sure it's not peer-reviewed and that it's buried. So I just want to jump back on and in a more focused way explain to you how to get through this mental miasma, basically, that makes us doubt our own eyes, our own reading, our own basic common sense, even to the point where we have this Christian Anderson guy who ought to be absolutely ashamed of himself, being a science snob and saying that the public doesn't understand science and they're vilifying scientists. And what I say is no, we're not vilifying scientists. We are vilifying corrupt scientists. There's an adjective for you. These guys, these goons, like to use all these adjectives like dangerous messaging. Now they have this thing, they actually say that bad ideas are infecting our world. And in my last video, I read this thing from theconversation.com, which was examining the Great Barrington Declaration, which was written by 3 Ivy League virologists. And it was such a hit piece. They must have used the word dangerous 15 times when talking about the truth. Okay, well, I'm at my destination, and I'm really grateful that y'all came back on. I'd love to get some comments. Please subscribe or like this channel on Facebook. Also, please like Back to Facts on YouTube. And I've got my own website with articles. All of this stuff that I recently discovered, I'll probably put in an article so that those of you who are data geeks like me can really sink your teeth into it. Okay? All right. Well, I appreciate every single one of you. Thanks for joining me in this. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.